Imagine holding the GDP of a sovereign nation, like right in your personal bank account.
I mean, it's almost impossible to even picture.
Right. What do you even buy with that? Because when Elon Musk crossed the $1.1 trillion mark following the SpaceX IPO, the financial world predictably called it this ultimate capitalist victory.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you win the game of capitalism.
Yeah.
But the source we're doing a deep dive into today argues that it's not a victory at all. It's an unprecedented budget, essentially handed down by the cosmos, to fund the exit strategy for the human race.
Yeah, and it is a massive departure from how we usually digest financial news,
Totally.
Because if you look at standard market analysis, everything is reduced to algorithms, right? Quarterly earnings, profit margins, PE ratios.
We like things to be clean and quantifiable.
Exactly. But the text we are analyzing today it completely throws the traditional Wall Street playbook out the window. It takes this historic SpaceX IPO and analyzes the world's richest man, not as like a lucky entrepreneur, but as a literal cosmic messiah.
Which is such a wild, almost jarring pivot.
It really is.
But, as we unpack this today, it becomes incredibly compelling. Because if you're listening, you might be thinking, this just sounds like an eccentric billionaire's hobby or a bizarre piece of internet lore.
Right, some Reddit conspiracy or something.
Yeah. But the text we are looking at merges high finance with this really deep esoteric astrology to explain what is actually driving this specific individual. And, more importantly, what his success might mean for the future of, well, all of humanity.
Right, and to really understand the foundation of this argument, we have to look at the sheer scale of the wealth that triggered it. I mean, the source is fundamentally a reaction to that $1.1 trillion milestone.
Okay, yeah, let's hover on that number for a second.
Right.
Because $1 trillion it's a number that actually breaks the human brain.
Oh, totally. We're not built to comprehend it.
We hear it tossed around when politicians talk about national debt, sure, but applying it to one single human being, like if you earned $1 million a day, every single day since the year zero.
Which is a crazy thought experiment.
Right. 2,000 plus years of $1 million a day, you still wouldn't have $1 trillion. It's just a completely abstract concept.
And, the author of our source makes a very similar observation about the incomprehensible nature of this wealth. And they do it through this really brilliant historical and linguistic contrast.
Oh, the Karl Marx thing, yeah.
Exactly. The text brings up Karl Marx, the author of Capital and, the foundational critic of wealth accumulation. And the author points out that Marx probably couldn't even fathom what a trillion was when he was writing in the 19th century.
And there is this fantastic little pun in the original Russian text here that really highlights this, and we definitely have to break it down.
It's so clever.
It is. Because in Russian, the name Marx is spelled and pronounced almost identically to the planet Mars. So it's Marx versus Mars.
It's a deeply layered joke, yeah.
Yeah.
The source is essentially saying that while Marx the philosopher couldn't comprehend $1 trillion ceiling Mars, the planetary ambition has officially shat on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it bridges 19th century economic theory with 21st century interplanetary ambition just perfectly.
It also highlights a really strange psychological phenomenon, I think. When a number gets so big that our brains can't process it mathematically, we seem to instinctively abandon the math.
And reach for mythology.
Exactly. We reach for mythology to make sense of it. And that's exactly what the source argues. This wealth is so vast that traditional financial journalism fundamentally misunderstands its purpose.
Right.
Wall Street looks at $1 trillion and sees the finish line. But the source looks at it and sees, petty cash for a much stranger obsession.
That is the core thesis. The wealth is framed purely as an unprecedented budget. It is not the goal. It is the material instrument required by the universe to fulfill a very specific, inescapable mission. The money is merely the fuel.
Okay, so if $1 trillion is just the budget, what exactly is the project?
Well, to find that, we have to follow the source as it throws the financial spreadsheets entirely in the trash.
Goodbye, Wall Street Journal.
Right, goodbye earnings reports. And instead, it looks at something completely unexpected to answer that question, which is an astrological natal chart.
Okay, this is where it gets so fascinating.
Yeah, this is where the analysis moves from earthly economics to interplanetary mechanics.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So the text claims that if you want to understand who Musk is, you don't look at PayPal or Tesla. You look at the stars at the exact moment of his birth. And it points out a highly specific alignment. His natal Mars sits exactly on the north node.
And the source refers to that as the head of the dragon, right?
Exactly, the head of the dragon.
Which, I mean, if you're a sci-fi or fantasy fan, that sounds amazing. But in this context, it's a very specific mechanism. Let's break down what that actually means for someone's life trajectory, according to the text.
Sure. So in astrological terms, the north node, or the dragon's head, is it's the vector of evolution. It points to a person's ultimate growth and destiny in this lifetime. But it's not a gentle nudge. The source really emphasizes that this point represents a zone of irresistible attraction. It pulls a person with a force that borders on absolute obsession.
And the text points out that this specific conjunction is sitting right on the cusp of the 8th house.
Which is huge.
Yeah, because for those who don't spend their weekends mapping zodiac charts, the 8th house is the house of transformation, extremes, and deep-seated fixations.
Right. It's not casual energy at all.
Not at all. It's the kind of energy that makes someone literally unable to sleep until a problem is solved. It's a willingness to risk total financial ruin, to burn everything down to the studs for a single goal.
And then you add the planet involved in this conjunction, which is Mars. Mars is pure, unadulterated energy, its drive, its willpower, its aggression. And of course, the text leans heavily into the literal manifestation here.
That Mars is the red planet itself.
Exactly.
Oh.
The literal planet Mars.
And then you wrap all of that up in the zodiac sign where this is happening, which is Aquarius. The source reminds us that Aquarius is the sign governing space, innovation, technological leaps, and human progress.
So when you synthesize all those elements, the source argues you are looking at a striking synchronicity.
Yeah, it's kind of undeniable when you stack it all up like that.
Right. You have the obsession, the extreme risk tolerance, the unyielding drive, and it's all pointed precisely at space innovation and the red planet.
Okay, let me try to put this into terms our business-minded listeners might appreciate, just to ground it a bit.
Go for it.
It's like looking at a cosmic term sheet from a venture capitalist.
Oh, I like that.
Right. The universe provided the seed funding at birth. That's the Mars in Aquarius on the dragon's head. And it hardwired a target into him, essentially saying, your deliverable is a multi-planetary species.
That's a very effective way to translate the concept, actually. The text calls this an evolutionary inevitability.
I do have to pause on that phrase, though.
Evolutionary inevitability.
Yeah, because my natural skepticism kicks in here. I mean, if you read the tech news, it is so easy to just look at this and say, the guy read a lot of Isaac Asimov as a kid, he made some smart early internet investments, and now he just has the cash to build rockets.
Right. The standard narrative.
Yeah. Why do we need the dragon's head to explain a billionaire with a sci-fi hobby?
Well, because the text argues the scale and the relentless nature of the pursuit transcend a hobby. A hobby is, something you do in your spare time on the weekends.
Fair point.
This is an all-consuming drive that has repeatedly pushed him to the absolute brink of bankruptcy in the past. I mean, the source rejects the idea of a banal business plan entirely.
It's bigger than that.
Right. The term inevitability implies a fundamental lack of choice. He isn't a CEO who simply identified a gap in the aerospace market. According to this astrological blueprint, he was handed the role of a cosmic messiah.
Well,
Yeah, it is his evolutionary duty to pave the way to the stars.
okay, hold on. I'm buying the cosmic drive idea for the sake of the argument, but the guy has been launching rockets for 2 decades now.
True.
He's been famous for a long time. If this destiny was baked in at birth, why did the universe wait until 2026 to cut him the trillion-dollar check?
Right.
Like, why is this historic financial milestone happening right now?
The source answers that exact question, and it does it by looking at the current movement of the planets.
Okay, the plot thickens.
It points out that right now, Pluto is in Aquarius.
Hmm.
And it is slowly creeping toward that exact same head of the dragon, the north node, where his natal Mars sits.
Wait, so Pluto is moving into the exact neighborhood where his lifelong obsessive drive is parked.
Exactly.
What does Pluto bring to the table in this cosmic VC deal?
Pluto is the heavy hitter. It is the planet of profound structural transformation. It governs massive, often hidden wealth and ultimate power.
Okay, so it's not messing around.
Not at all. The text interprets this specific transit as the universe finally giving the ultimate green light.
This Series A payout.
Precisely. The text literally phrases it as the universe saying, and I'm quoting here, okay, Elon, the scenario is grand. Here is an unprecedented budget for its reality screening.
A budget for its reality screening. That is such an evocative phrase. It's like the universe is the studio executive greenlighting the most expensive practical effect in the history of cinema.
And this is where the text introduces a profound historical and mythological parallel to explain what is happening on Earth right now. It compares him to a demiurge.
A demiurge. Let's define that for everyone.
Sure, in ancient philosophy, a demiurge is a creator deity. It's a being responsible for taking raw, chaotic matter and shaping it into the physical universe.
Right.
The source is arguing that these ancient myths are essentially becoming reality before our very eyes, funded by a $1.1 trillion bank account.
Okay, let me push back on that framing just a little bit, because calling a tech CEO a demiurge carries a ton of baggage.
It definitely does.
I mean, if you are one of the thousands of aerospace engineers working 80-hour weeks, doing the brutal math, designing the heat shields, and actually welding the rockets together, doesn't it feel a little insulting to give all the credit to a cosmic messiah?
Yeah, I see where you're going.
It's like a movie director taking all the glory while the crew actually builds the sets, you know? Does the source just completely gloss over the human labor here?
It's a crucial distinction to make, and I'll say the text is surprisingly nuanced on this point. It does not erase the human element at all. It explicitly acknowledges that this unprecedented budget is going directly to a team of the best engineers on Earth.
Okay, so it does recognize the people actually doing the math.
Absolutely. The demiurge comparison isn't meant to suggest that Musk is in the factory turning wrenches with divine hands.
Right.
In this philosophical framework, the demiurge is the necessary vessel. He is the conduit. You can have the brightest engineers in the world, but without the cosmic financier pulling that $1 trillion out of the ether and directing it with absolute obsession, the engineers have no materials.
They're just smart people with no budget.
Exactly. They have no budget to turn the ancient myth into a modern reality. He orchestrates the resources.
He's the gravity that pulls the infinite money and the brilliant minds into one specific place to execute the blueprint.
That's a great way to put it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. But if we follow this logic to its natural conclusion, we hit a wall.
How so?
Well, okay, he's the demiurge, he has the unprecedented budget, the engineers build the ships, and humanity goes to Mars. What happens on day 2?
Yes. That is where the deep dive takes a massive pivot into much darker territory.
Yeah.
Because giving an obsessive visionary and an unlimited budget and a brand new planet comes with astronomical risks.
And the source points back to the astrology for this, right? The shadow side of all this innovation.
Yes. The text asks the reader to step back and deeply consider the dual nature of Aquarius. We've established that Aquarius is brilliant, it's forward-thinking, it's the sign of the inventor. But every sign in astrology has a shadow side, a negative manifestation of its core traits.
And what does the shadow side of an Aquarian Mars look like when it has $1 trillion to spend on a new planet?
The shadow side of Aquarius is profound detachment. It is cold logic, completely divorced from emotion. It prioritizes the system, the collective survival, over the individual human experience.
Wow.
Yeah, the source concludes by asking whether this genius Aquarian Mars will truly build an ideal future for humanity, a utopian second home, or if that shadow side is going to take over and build a cold, technocratic dystopia.
Think about every classic sci-fi villain origin story you've ever seen.
Oh, exactly.
You always start with the visionary who wants to save humanity. They want to fix the climate, cure the disease, or make us a multi-planetary species so we don't go extinct.
No.
But somewhere along the way, they become so obsessed with the data, the engineering, and the survival metrics.
That they lose their humanity.
Exactly. They completely forget about actual human warmth. They build a perfect, indestructible machine, but it is a miserable place for a human being to actually live.
Which is a terrifying prospect when you realize those trillions of dollars could effectively be flushed into icy space to create a society completely devoid of humanity.
But let's be honest about the reality of space travel for a second.
Okay.
If you are trying to survive in a literal vacuum, millions of miles from Earth, where the air is unbreathable and the temperature outside will freeze you solid in seconds, you need cold logic.
You can't just wing it.
Right. You need strict systems. If someone forgets to close an airlock because they were distracted by a human emotion, everyone dies. So the shadow side of Aquarius might actually be a survival requirement on Mars.
That is the ultimate paradox the source presents, and it intentionally leaves the resolution as an open question to you, the listener. It forces you to critically evaluate the entire endeavor.
It really does.
I mean, having a cosmic messiah with $1 trillion budget sounds absolutely incredible for technological progress. We get reusable rockets, global satellite internet, and humanity pushes its boundaries further than ever before.
But yielding the entire future of our species as a multi-planetary civilization to one man's personal, astrologically driven obsession, I mean, it carries a risk we can barely comprehend.
It does. The mission might be flawlessly executed, the flag might be planted, but the people living under that dome might find themselves trapped in a rigid, emotionless, highly regulated technocracy.
A gilded cage on another planet.
Exactly. The source drops this massive ethical and existential implication right in your lap at the very end. Will it be a utopia or an icy dystopia?
It is a lot to process. If you're listening to this on your commute or, while walking the dog, it completely reorients how you look at the news. Let's take a breath and recap the incredible journey we've just taken today.
It's been a ride.
We started with a very concrete, very earthly reality, the historic SpaceX IPO. We looked at how crossing the $1.1 trillion mark stops being a financial victory and becomes an unprecedented budget. The numbers got so big, we had to reach for the Marx Mars wordplay to even conceptualize it.
And from there, we followed the source as it discarded the balance sheets for the astrological natal chart. We explored the mechanics of the dragon's head in the 8th house, framing this multi-planetary ambition not as a billionaire's passing hobby, but as an evolutionary inevitability.
A cosmic blueprint hardwired into a single individual.
Right. We looked at the timing, too. Pluto in Aquarius acting as the universe's Series A payout, giving the green light for the modern demiurge to fund the best engineers on Earth.
And finally, we confronted the chilling shadow side of this grand vision, the very real risk that the cold, detached logic required to get us to Mars might be the exact thing that traps us in a technocratic dystopia once we arrive.
It is a remarkable synthesis of high finance, esoteric mysticism, and existential risk. And it leaves us with a profound question to consider as we watch these rocket launches unfold in the real world.
So what's the biggest takeaway here for you?
I think it comes down to how we as a society interact with power. If we begin to view mega billionaires not just as lucky entrepreneurs or ruthless businessmen, but as figures fulfilling a predestined cosmic blueprint or acting out an ancient myth, how does that fundamentally change our ability to hold them accountable?
That is the terrifying question. Because you can regulate a CEO. Can you regulate a demiurge?
Exactly. If we collectively believe someone is truly destined by the universe to take us to the stars, do we surrender our collective free will to them? Do we look the other way when they bypass safety regulations or make controversial decisions simply because we think they are operating on a cosmic timeline that mere mortals can't understand?
We like the algorithm, we like the balance sheet because it's clean, it's rational, and we can hold it accountable to the math. If the numbers don't add up, the board of directors can fire the CEO.
Right?
But the moment you throw the math out the window and replace it with a cosmic messiah, suddenly you aren't an investor anymore. You're a believer.
And a believer will excuse almost anything to see the prophecy fulfilled.
Exactly. Are we willing to risk handing over the keys to our future and potentially walking right into that cold, technocratic dystopia just because we want so desperately to see the myth come to life? Something to think about the next time you look up at the night sky.